Cheryl Hoover was a pharmacist trying to find a pill for every ill when she discovered 9 years ago that she had breast cancer. After her treatment was finished, she started to investigate what she could do to stay well. This led to her founding Pharmacy in Your Kitchen. So, Cheryl, just over 9 years ago, you were diagnosed with breast cancer. That must have been an incredible shock.
Absolutely was. I just went in for a normal mammogram, as I had done for years. And that day they did a biopsy after finding something on the mammogram, and the wheels just started rolling from there on quite quickly. I didn't really have any history in my family. I was never really worried about getting breast cancer. It just really it really knocked the wind out of my sails. But it started a trajectory of things that ultimately have completely changed my life. I look back now to those 9 years and see what has happened. It's really amazing to be here now, being Pharmacy in Your Kitchen, all starting with a breast cancer diagnosis.
Yeah, because you were a medical pharmacist at the time.
Yes, I had worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I had worked in hospital pharmacy. I had worked in retail pharmacy and married to a traditional doctor. He's an ear, nose, and throat surgeon. And we were just doing traditional medicine. I was doing everything that I was trained to do in pharmacy school, which was basically find a pill for every ill and help people select the supplements and things that they needed to add to their diet. I thought that was, my gift of service was, let me help you find the right pill. And now, of course, I'm encouraging people to not automatically run to the pharmacy and to really try and nourish themselves with real food. So, yeah, it's just been life-changing.
Yeah, so you started exploring the idea of the power of food because of that diagnosis. I mean, presumably, to begin with, you were so caught up with that and the treatment. So it would have taken a while before you started to, pick yourself up and start exploring.
Yeah, what happened was all during, we picked a great medical team and we did everything that they recommended that we do. And it was really the time when it was time for them to discharge me and I would be seen in a year. It was at that moment that I realized I am really frightened. I am scared. I'm on my own now. I want to do things differently and I have to figure out how to do things better than I was doing them before because I don't want to end up back here in the same boat. So that's kind of how it started. It was just a personal thing for me, let's look at everything. Let's look at what I'm doing and see how I can do it better. And I knew that I could eat better. I thought that I was eating well, but I was eating a lot of animal protein. I wasn't really eating processed foods, but I really wasn't eating enough fruits and vegetables. I wasn't taking care of my gut. I was doing a lot of things poorly. So I knew that I was going to have to eat more plants, but I was so nervous about that because we in the United States have become so protein obsessed, mostly animal protein obsessed. And I kept thinking, how am I going to get enough protein? I just didn't want to eat plants. I wanted to make sure that I was doing it the right way. So I thought, well, the only way I'm going to really know is if I get certified in plant-based nutrition. And so I did that for me and my family. And after I got certified in plant-based nutrition, I became so empowered by the power of plants. And I just wanted to help other people too. So it became then this mission of helping other cancer patients. But it all started with my fear upon when I was done with treatment and they were ready to discharge me. And I told my husband, I said, I can't live like this. I can't live in constant fear and worry. I don't want to wake up every day and wonder. And as you know, Jane, as we get older, there's constantly little aches and pains and things that hurt that didn't hurt. And when you're a cancer survivor, they tell you to be on alert for all of those things. If anything feels wrong or if you're worried about anything, come in and we'll scan you. And I didn't want to live in fear. I just wanted to do the best that I could every day and live in that space.
So you studied plant-based nutrition And for yourself, you said, but in fact, that's spread out now much more, hasn't it? Because you're not just doing it for yourself, you're helping other people as well.
Yes. Well, initially I did stick, so it was a local kind of thing. I was preparing food for other cancer patients in Charlotte, North Carolina, here in the States. And I had a little cooler on my porch, and either someone would pick up the food, either the patient or a caregiver or family member, or I would deliver it to them. And I did that for years and I loved it. It was a little, almost like a food ministry for me. It was called Pray, Eat, Heal. So I would pray over the food and I prayed for healing and wellness and strength for the cancer patient. And it was wonderful. But although I will be always passionate about helping other cancer patients, I knew from my training, getting certified in plant-based nutrition, that it's not just about cancer. It's about all those diseases of affluence that we suffer from, the cardiovascular disease and diabetes and obesity and brain health and cancer. So that's when my family convinced me that I needed to be the pharmacist who actually was trying to keep you out of the pharmacy. And they came up with my name, Pharmacy in Your Kitchen. I love it. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And I love that they were all involved because I will tell you, after my diagnosis, my husband said to my girls, I don't know what your mom's going to want to do in this kitchen, but whatever she wants to do, we are all on board because that's the way that we can support her. We don't want to stand in her way. We want to support her. And if that's anything that she says, go. And so they've always been extremely supportive. So I'm thrilled that they were involved in the name too.
Yeah, yeah. And so when you're talking to people about plant-based eating, about the pharmacy in your kitchen, can you give us some ideas of what your message involves? What you try to teach people?
It's funny, when I first started doing this, I was, as I said, so jacked up that I wanted everyone to be like totally plant-based and just really lean into all the power of plants. And over the years, I have softened because I really find that I'm more successful with people when I meet them where they are and I encourage them to do better. And there's data out there now that says even if 75% of your diet is whole food plant-based, it makes a tremendous difference in your health. And so most people I like to set people up for success. And most people don't do well when you say, you can never do this ever again. And so I just kind of meet them where they are and help them put more plants on their plate, less animal protein, maybe like think of it as a condiment or not every meal, or lean into maybe we'll try meatless Mondays, or maybe at first we'll just try meatless meals. Then maybe it's just a meatless Monday. Maybe it's just meatless Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Maybe it's meatless at home. And if you go out, you can have it. I just want them to be successful, and I encourage them to listen to their body. And I know you do this a lot, and just really pay attention. Your body will tell you if it's happy and if it is being nourished properly, and really pay attention to that. I think sadly, people have forgotten what it's like to feel well and what it's like for your body to be nourished well. And we just keep treating the side effects and eating the things that the food industry tells us to eat. And that's why we're so sick, at least in the United States. That's very common.
I mean, it is actually true in the UK. I think the average diet by calories now in the UK is around 50% ultra-processed food. And I think in the US, it's 60%. We're following close behind you.
I wish you weren't. Oh, yeah, we have this.
No, well, I do too.
Have you heard this quote? Can't remember actually who said it, but it's something to the effect of, we are fed by a food industry who pays no attention to health, and we are cared for by a healthcare industry who pays no attention to food. And I really believe
Yeah.
in the United States that for sure is true.
I mean, I think it's true almost all over the world now that this is sadly what's happening. So, but some people would go, I mean, I think particularly as people get older, they go, oh, I like biscuits, cookies, I like cake, I like, in the UK, I like bacon sandwiches, I like hot dogs, I like donuts. Life would be miserable without them. And what's your answer to that sort of
Yeah.
view?
That's a great question. I would say, like, if you like those things, maybe occasionally you had one, but also just really pay attention to how your body feels after you have had that. My husband used to be a tremendous fried chicken connoisseur, loved it. And he would take a preventative Alka-Seltzer before his fried chicken, and then he would have to take one afterwards as well. And I said to him, your body's trying to talk to you and you're not listening.
Yes.
And so
Yeah, it's definitely telling you something.
Totally. So I would just encourage people to just pay attention because is it worth, yes, does it feel good in your mouth at the time? Or does it smell good? Does it taste good while it's happening? But then how do you feel afterwards? If you had this really high sugary, ultra processed sweet, do you crash a couple hours later and that's just miserable and you wish you hadn't had it? Does it set you up for craving more sugar later on in the day? Just really pay attention. And again, we've gotten lazy at that because typically we just want to eat what we want and treat the symptoms of the food that we just ate.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And we know that the sort of food we're talking about, particularly like the sugary food, has a real effect on your mental health and your moods and all that. It might be difficult to begin with, but as you move more towards a whole food plant-based diet, you're going to get happier.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yes. And also it takes a while for our taste buds to change. We have been, for years, our taste buds have gotten used to the ultra processed foods and the man-made foods and things like that. And so that's what we think food should taste like. But if you go back to really real whole actual foods, it does take a while, but your body will begin to go, oh, I love this. I recognize that this is very tasty and I crave this now. I want this now.
I saw some research on teenagers who most teenagers have appalling diets, and they did some work with teenagers where they explained to them how the food industry is manipulating their tastes, that they find the sweet spot so that you want more, you like the taste of it in your mouth, as you were saying earlier, and all this stuff. And that they were actually being manipulated by the food industry. And in fact, after that, I don't know, couple of sessions, I don't know how long it was, that they had this information given to them, they all started to eat healthier because they didn't like the idea of being manipulated. And I think that works. That obviously works for teenagers, but I think that works if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes when I look at what I can label as rubbish food, and I think I really want that. And then I think, they're manipulating you. They're trying to manipulate me because they know that if I eat this, I'm going to want more of it. And then I just say, no, I'm going to refuse to be manipulated.
Absolutely. That's so true.
So I think that's another way of trying to help people get to that point where they want to eat more healthy food.
Yes. I do not want anyone to have a scary diagnosis, but that is very motivating. Yeah. And so a lot of people who actually come to me and want me to work with them about changing their diet, they have very strong motivation because they've been scared. Either something has happened in their family that they don't want to happen to them, or something has happened to them personally that they want to make the change. And so I don't wish that upon anybody, but it is very motivating when you get a scary diagnosis. Yeah. And to your point, Jane, about the children or the younger generation, they don't want to be manipulated. I really think that you've struck on something that's so important because Most people do not know that the food industry does not care about our health. They really don't. They don't understand that it's a pure money-making thing for them, and they could care less if it causes diabetes, obesity, or anything else. And I think if more people knew that, then they would be a little skeptical of the food industry. And that would be great. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Do you have favorite recipes that you share with your clients?
Well, I do have an Instagram that has a lot of recipes. I typically post one a week. And the whole purpose of that Instagram is just to like visually inspire people and keep them motivated to put more color, more plants, just, we do eat with our eyes first. And so that's really what that whole Instagram is about. But yes, a lot of times people will say, come to me specifically and say, these are the recipes that I want you to do an overhaul on, make them better. And that's so satisfying to do, because whether it's a family recipe or just a comfort food that they love and they really don't want to give it up, well, we'll just look at it and see if we can do a little bit better, make some changes, add more plant. And now it's a revised recipe, but something that they can eat on the regular because it's been upgraded.
So can you give us an example of one of those sort of recipe changes you've done for someone?
Yeah. So it would be something, let's just say good old spaghetti with a meat sauce. Okay. There's basically two things there, the pasta and the sauce. So the pasta, we have a pasta here in the United States it's made by Barilla, that it's a protein pasta. It does have some wheat in it, but it also has several other plant proteins in it too. So there's lots of different things. Very high in protein, but it does have the gluten, which everyone wants. They don't want to give up the gluten. So many people are resistant to the chickpea pasta and the spelt pasta and all that stuff. But anyway, the sauce is so simple now. And again, you have to be careful because there are so many products out there that just because they're vegan or just because they're plant-based doesn't mean that they're really clean and good for you. But there's a product here in the United States called Abbott's Butcher, and it's plant-based crumbles is one of the things that they offer. Very clean. It's made out of mushrooms and pea protein, and all the ingredients are real ingredients, nothing artificial. Great product. I love it. And so literally, instead of this totally meat-based, sometimes multiple meat-based bolognese sauce, we just take a really good jar of marinara and we take those plant-based crumbles that are already flavored and taste delicious. And we add a splash of red wine, a little bit of garlic, salt, and some pepper, and we stick that in the oven, and the house smells amazing. And they have literally a bolognese pasta. And the reason I started telling people this is I did this on my husband. So my husband loves a bolognese sauce, and we had stopped having spaghetti like that when we were eating, going more plant-based. And one day he came home from work and he could see the sauce simmering on the stove and the water was boiling. And he was like, "Oh, are we having pasta? Are we having spaghetti?" And I said, "Yes, we are. We are having spaghetti." He's like, "I love spaghetti." I said, "I know you do, Bonnie. I know you do." So anyway, I plate the food. We eat it. He's 2 bites in. He's like, "This is amazing. I wish we could have this every week." I said, "I'm so glad you like it. So happy." The next week, I made it again. He walks in the door. "Are we having spaghetti again?" "Yes, we are." "Oh, I'm so happy. I love spaghetti." "Yes." So he's halfway through the second time and just going on and on about it. And I said, "I have to tell you the truth. There's no meat in this. It's all plant." And he said, "I don't care what's in it. It's delicious." And then we had leftovers for the next day. And he said, "Can I take these to work? I want to show my nurses and my medical assistant how delicious it is so that they can do something like this." So that's when I knew I needed to start sharing that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things I say to people, if you want to become more plant-based, you don't need 200 recipes. People sometimes say, "Well, I wouldn't know what to cook." And I say to them, how many different recipes do you cook in a week? And often they have like 5 favorites.
Yeah.
And often it's not that difficult, particularly if they've got someone like you to help them, to change, to make that dish more plant-based. And then they've got 5 regular dishes that they can eat, like you say, like every week.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some people are just totally overwhelmed with the idea of not doing a meat, carb, and some veggies. Like they're just like, I don't know. Sometimes they say, well, I don't like to be in the kitchen a lot, or I'm not really that good of a cook, or they set themselves up for, this is going to be too hard. But like you said, if we could just get a handful of recipes that are your go-tos, and then if you feel like you want to branch out and try something new or pick up something on Instagram or some sort of plant-based magazine that's in the grocery store, then great. But it does not have to be a full folder of recipes that you have to learn how to make.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have a dessert recipe or a cookie recipe that people really like?
Yeah.
Can you think of something like that?
There's a cookie recipe in the book that I wrote with a doctor here in town that people love. And it's like a breakfast cookie, but it's packed with blueberries and walnuts, and people just absolutely love it. And it's very clean and it's not very sweet. And it's either a breakfast cookie or a snack cookie or that sort of thing. And that's one of the recipes in the book that people are over and over again are like, I'm making those breakfast cookies because they're amazing. But they're so full of blueberries and walnuts, but they love them anyway.
Fantastic. And so tell us about the book, because you've been working with a doctor on brain health, haven't you?
Yes. So there's a doctor here in town, and he was writing his 3rd book. This particular book, he wanted to really focus on brain health, because what he was finding is that the patients in his practice were coming in and they were very frightened about their brain health. Maybe their parents had seen incredible cognitive decline or been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or something like that. And that was at the time where he realized that it was overtaking, in the United States, it was overtaking cancer as the number one fear that people had, was cognitive decline or Alzheimer's. And so that's when he decided he wanted to write a book about it. And he asked me, he knew about Pharmacy in Your Kitchen, and he asked me if I would write the nutrition part of the book and provide 40 recipes for the book. So it was a really great experience. And it was really the first time that I really stepped out away from just cancer into the brain health world, which was perfect. And because, as you know, if you're really eating for cancer prevention, you're eating to prevent all of those diseases that we're suffering from. So the recipes in the book are for brain health, but totally for cancer prevention as well, and diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease too. So it was just wonderful to be, since it was his 3rd book, he just kind of scooped me up and kind of carried me in. And it was so much fun. And I'm very proud of it. And it's kind of nice to be able to say, that recipe's in my book.
And what's the book called? You haven't told us that.
It's called Healthy Living for a Sharper Mind.
Healthy Living for a Sharper Mind. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yes.
Yeah. I loved your book, Jane. And you have a great big title too.
Yes.
Secrets of Longevity, Vitality, and Disease Prevention.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The Science of Healthy Aging.
Yes. Yeah. It was so good. I loved it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I haven't read your book, so I want to say I loved yours, but I think I need to get it and read it. So Instagram, your Instagram handle is Pharmacy in Your Kitchen. You've got a website, which is pharmacyinyourkitchen.com, I think.
Yep.
So if people want to contact you or want to see more of what you're doing and what you're showing and how enthusiastic you are about this. And I think because you've got the pharmacy background, it probably helps you be a better cook, because do you weigh things really exactly because of your pharmacy training?
Oh my gosh, Jane. Okay, so the pharmacy training, I just have to tell you, I became a pharmacist. That was my second career choice. I wanted to go to culinary school. My father would not send me to culinary school, but he told me that he would send me to business school to be able to run a restaurant, but he did not want me to be a chef. So I started out in business school. And after like 2 years, I was like, this just is not for me. And so that's when I switched to pharmacy. But one of the things that I did love about pharmacy is that in the compounding part of pharmacy, you're weighing and very precisely measuring and all those things. And so the only difference was that you can't lick your fingers in the compounding pharmacy, whereas in the kitchen, of course, you can lick your fingers if you want to. But yeah, it's so layered into that, honestly. And I don't really weigh and measure so much unless I'm baking or doing something on the sweet side. I love to be creative and just kind of grab things and throw them in the pot now. But, years ago when I thought I was wanting to be a chef and then I became the pharmacist, it was completely layered in.
It's really amazing where you've gone from that breast cancer diagnosis to where you are now, and your delight in life, your delight in food and eating well and sharing that with people. So thank you very much. We'll put the links so people can get more of you. I'll put those in the video description. So thank you very much indeed. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, I've enjoyed it too, Jane. Thank you for having me.